Is it hard for you to talk about your sexual wants, needs, and desires? Well, you're not alone. It's hard for everybody, and that's no pun intended. Are you hard right now and can't talk about it? Well, if so, this podcast is for you. Hi, I'm Toby. I'm from the band Emery. I've also led a bunch of men's groups with the True Man Experience, and I'm working on this podcast with Dr. Stormy, who is an amazing sex coach who has helped so many people, and that's what we're here to do. We were here to open up the conversation. You need to be able to talk about your sexual desires, your wants, and yes, even your needs, and where you can take your sex life with your partner. So sit back, relax. We're taking listener questions. We're going to have a great episode. Join us because this is the sex education you always wish you would have gotten. All right, we're back at it again. Sex 101 podcast. We're glad you guys are here. Stormy, I hope you're doing good. Father's Day was recently, and all my kids, including my dogs, have just been really rough. Both dogs are sick. So
Oh, no.
I wake up. I did not go to bed one night till about 2 a.m. I don't know why. I was just up watching TV. I just couldn't fall asleep. Go to a deep sleep. At 4 o'clock, I hear this noise, and I'm like, "What is happening?" And it's one of my dogs, Norm, pooping on the carpet. He has diarrhea.
No.
It's not just a turd. If it was just a solid turd, it'd be okay.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
diarrhea, and so I'm out of it, and now I'm just cleaning, and I don't. How do you clean up poop? You know what I mean?
Oh,
And I don't
yeah.
know. And I'm only in my boxers clean. I'm like, well, this is disgusting. Couldn't go back to sleep.
No.
Totally. I was like, okay, he's just a little sick. Everything's all right. We might have to take him to the bed or whatever. And then this morning, I woke up to Dottie, my other dog, throwing up in my bed.
Oh,
And
no.
I was just
In
like,
your bed?
yeah. And it's so funny because I was like, man, I'm past the baby stage with my kids. So everything's about now my dogs are doing it. Now I'm cleaning up poop and vomit from dogs still. I'm like, what have I
Oh, no.
done?
Oh, my
Yeah, and all that.
gosh.
So I'm in dad mode trying to do all this stuff, and we were talking a little
Oh,
bit before we started recording. And I'm flying tomorrow to go record my band Emery's new album. So I have to move
oh
from
my
dad
gosh.
mode, dog dad, kid dad, all this stuff to immediately go into I got to sing really well and
Rock star
be a
mode.
rock and roll guy again. Yeah, so it's a weird thing to pull
uh,
yourself out of that. You probably feel that
yeah.
way too sometimes because you like speaking engagements that you do and all this stuff. You have to be a certain way and prepared and get your brain in the right mode of doing those engagements and those events. And then also you got to come back and, spend time with your loved ones, your boyfriend, your child,
Yeah,
all that stuff.
totally.
It's funny how you have to maneuver your brain sometimes to get in and out of things.
Yeah, I mean, and these are all like different roles that we all like that we wear, right? That we have. And
Mm,
congratulations on your new album. It's
yeah.
exciting. I'll look
Thank
forward to
you.
hearing it. And it's like, and then it's interesting. I have the honor of being in a featured as an author in a book coming out that's going to be coming out in September called Transformational Journey: Stories on Business, Life, Love, and Happiness. But the kind of the gist of my chapter is that all of those roles we play, all those parts we have in our life, all make us who we are, right? There's none of them that are better or worse. There's no redos, there's no do-overs, there's no mistakes. They are all part of who we are. But I hear that, I mean, that I'm 46 and that's been a learning process journey the whole time, which is why I wrote my book chapter about
Yep.
it.
And that goes into honestly even what we're saying, what we're going to talk about today is foreplay. Foreplay just isn't going to just happen. You have to actually prepare your mind, get out of work mode, get out of taking care of the kids and the dogs and all
Mhm.
that stuff. Foreplay is obviously just as important. And sometimes maybe it's even more important than the actual sex and the penetration and all of it is amazing. But I've learned over the years now just that if you don't set yourself up for success in anything, it's not going to be a success. So if you want
Right.
to have great sex, you got to start on the beginning, I think. And that's why I'm really
Oh, I
excited
love
about this
that.
episode about foreplay.
Totally. And I think, you've heard me say before in other episodes, I think the name sucks, right?
Yeah.
Foreplay suggests that it's something you do before the actual play or like the appetizer before the main course. So let's just scrap that. I think we should call it like all play or something
Yeah.
instead of foreplay, like, right?
Yeah.
Because, when we get into the tips, that's like, shifting that mindset, like to not think of it as something you like hurry through or just do before sex, right? And
Yeah.
that's actually like the definition, right? The definition of foreplay is any activity that precedes intercourse that builds, that we'll get into the minutia of it, but it's really a big part of it is a shift that it's not something you do like before sex. It's all part of the physical and sexual intimacy.
Yeah, I like that. We should, because I grew up playing golf. My dad played golf, and first time I ever heard foreplay, I swear to you, I thought it was a golf term. Because play on through. You know, I was like, oh, I think I might have yelled it at some golfers behind me. What the foreplay? Come on. I didn't know. I didn't know, and now I do. Now I do. But you're right.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it should be called some totally like more play or something. You know, something
Ooh, I like
else
that.
because yeah, we'll make that a T-shirt or something for the Sex 101
Exactly.
listeners.
Right.
To get
Oh, I
more
love
play.
it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
go ahead.
no, and it really starts before the bedroom, right? Like I
Mhm.
believe it's Esther Perel says that, you know, foreplay starts the day before, you know,
Yeah.
she, you know, but it's not something that just starts like right before you have sex, right? And so there's a shift that's important there. It's about, you know, building anticipation. It includes things like kissing, maybe sharing fantasies, genital touching, you know, can include oral sex, caressing, non-genital touching. So much more than what we tend to think of it as. And that's a really, you know, and they also call it outer course, right? So anything that isn't intercourse is considered foreplay, outer course. And the purpose of it is to build, you know, anticipation, to build sexual excitement, to build pleasure. Also things to like increase lubrication and build sexual arousal. Like these are all fabulous things that will actually help you to have better sex. There was a journal, the Journal of Sex Research conducted a study that proved that the more buildup through foreplay, the more intense our orgasms are.
Mm,
And this is for men and women.
that makes
So,
sense.
you know, all these reasons why it's really great, but it's also going to help you have better sex and better orgasms. So win-win. I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. I've never like you're right, like outer course. I've never really thought about that, but you're right because all is so important just to I I mean, obviously I'm still learning. I am not good at this. I'm learning, but I even notice if I am more if I'm touched more, if I touch more, and that's not even all just like I'm not talking about you know, genitals or butt or anything like that. Just anything like if it's a caress on my back or something like that. Like my girlfriend just has no, like, I love this about her. She has no fear or embarrassment. She will always just kind of pop my butt in public. And you know what I mean? It doesn't matter who's around
That's
or whatever.
awesome.
Yeah. And I'm just like, and I just thought it's just really nice. Like nothing's about to happen. You know what
Right,
I mean?
right.
Like we are not going to go down, get, you know,
Right.
down the dog food aisle and start fooling around or anything like that. But what it does is it just signals we're together here, or I just, you know, we're just cutting up, we're having a good time, we're
Right,
together, and
totally.
I just really appreciate that.
Yeah, and right, and you're orienting towards each other, which is why, like, I mean, really thinking of foreplay not starting just in the bedroom. Like, you know, send a sexy text. Like, we'll get into the tips a little bit later, but like
Yeah.
sexting, like sending a little anticipatory something. You know, I mean, it also like just to nerd out for it, but foreplay does release oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine, some of our feel-good hormones. But it's, you know, it really does build connection. It builds the physical intimacy. It builds the emotional intimacy that, for many female brains is an important part to being open to sex and building that desire piece.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there's also a bit of um, a wives' tale out there in cultural messaging that we tend to think of foreplay as more for the woman.
Yeah.
Right. So we tend to think it's like, oh, and that would be true in that women's anatomy of arousal is different. It takes the female body longer to become aroused. But, you know, we're going to get into that in an episode coming soon about the different needs for sex between men and women. But, you know, it's not just for women. So shifting that mindset, not think of foreplay is just for women. It's really about, and this article I just mentioned was for men and women having better orgasms, more intense orgasms.
Do you think that's because it just feels like, oh, a man can just get an erection and have sex? Like it is, you know, the wind could blow a right way sometimes.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Is that, and that's why it keeps happening that it becomes more mythological in a sense because it's not really true. I mean, of course, a man likes that. When I was doing my men's groups, so many men told me they just didn't feel wanted or desired, and I was really surprised because you're right. So many men are just thought of as, oh yeah, now it's time to have sex. They can do it. You can get erection.
Yeah,
We can do
exactly.
penetrative sex. They like this, and then that's about it. But men really, just as much as women, want to be desired.
Totally. And a marker for sexual arousal for men is on the outside of the body. It's the penis. We don't have that. Well, we have that with the clitoris, but it's a little harder to see that
Yeah.
arousal in the clitoris, you know? So yeah, absolutely. Right. So, and then also I think it was really interesting that one of the most cited reasons for skipping foreplay altogether which I do not recommend. Obviously, that's what we're talking about this episode, where we're doing this subject of this episode today, but is one of the most reported reasons for men to skip it is that they don't feel confident in doing foreplay. They don't know what their partner wants, or they don't feel aware enough about the female anatomy so they just sort of rush right through to sex or skip foreplay altogether. So that's why we chose to do this topic, because we wanted to give you guys some tips to up level your foreplay game. And it's really an amazing tool to help you have better sex and deeper connection with your partner.
Yeah, totally. One of the things I've realized over the years is if I am intentional about that, like, because everybody wants to have great sex. That's one of the reasons this podcast exists, because so many people out there, like, how can the sex that I'm having be better, or how can I improve? And I think oftentimes we see, we've grown up in this age of porn is everywhere. And it's just, get to it. The lady's already turned on, the guy's in the charge. And, it is if you really want good sex, you do have to start in other places. Maybe it is start at being a little flirty at Target or Walmart or something.
Yeah,
that like you said, that
totally.
text or that kind word, like, gosh, you look handsome, or man, you sure are pretty today. Just the littlest things make people feel really good and want and desire each other.
Absolutely. And as a sex and intimacy coach, and I work with men, women, and couples. But it is, if I had to say, I'd say it's one of the most common complaints often by the females that I'm working with, that, well, my guy just, like, there's no connection all day long. That he gets in bed and wants to have sex. And I'm like, whoa, I'm like still doing my to-do list, or I'm still upset that, whatever. And so it's really like one of the beautiful things about foreplay is it is that physical and emotional intimacy, right? You're cultivating physical and emotional intimacy if you're doing foreplay well, right? And that's why we chose to do this topic today, for 5 moves to up-level your foreplay. So, and think of it, it's helping to repair the mind and the body. We say that the mind is your greatest sex organ, your biggest sex organ, and it's also your greatest barrier to fabulous sex. So when you start to prepare the mind and the body, you're going to have better sex. You're going to have more pleasure. You're going to have better orgasms.
Definitely. All right. We want to get to some tips. What else?
Yeah, let's do it. So 5 moves to make it more amazing. So the first one, is lengthen it. Okay.
And we're talking about foreplay here, nothing else, right? Yeah, that's it. Everything else is totally normal and right. And fine.
Everything else is perfect.
Don't need to lengthen anything else.
That's so funny. Okay, so the average, so we'll guess. So we're going to do a little stump. Toby, I've been switching around on you a little bit. What's the average length of foreplay in the United States?
I don't know. Maybe 7 to 10 minutes, I would say.
Oh, you nailed it. So 10 minutes is the average of foreplay. And 9 minutes, 8.3 minutes actually, is the average of heteropenetrative sex. So once you begin intercourse. So 10 minutes of foreplay, 9 minutes of sex. We got to change that whole thing. Okay. Because that is not for, especially as a woman, speaking as a woman with a female anatomy, that is not the recipe for great sex. Okay. So really, when I say lengthen it, I really want to recommend that you lengthen your foreplay at least to 20 minutes. So at least double it, and ideally more like 30 minutes, right? So tripling it. So I know it's a tall call to order, but it's really like, there's fun ways to do it. So you can do things like make an agreement that you're not going to take off your boxers or your underwear, your panties for 10 minutes or something, right? Like literally have it be this fun, playful thing. Like be like, and we're going to tease the shit out of each other, right? Like it can be fun ways to do it. Also not going right for the genitals, it's definitely for the woman, not going right for the clitoris. We talked about that in our clitoris episode. Like it can be overwhelming to the clitoris and actually almost even uncomfortable or painful because if you're not aroused yet. So like literally think of the genitals as off limits in a fun, playful, sexy way for a certain period of time is one great way to lengthen it, but really shooting for 20 to 30 minutes. And then the second tip is like savoring it, looking at it as an exploration, a curiosity of getting to know not only your partner's body and pleasure, but your body and pleasure. Your pleasure map is what I call them, your pleasure maps, right? So we've talked about this in other episodes, bringing back the makeout, bringing back dry humping. Right? Yes. It is amazing. Like bring back a full-on makeout session. Dry hump to your full, so you can't wait to take your panties off, right? Like, and then the other piece about savoring it, and you mentioned this before, is like no distractions. Really, really, really be present. This is not the foreplay. This is the all play, right? So this isn't something you're sort of doing through or doing for your woman, like shifting that mindset to really be fully present. And really, like, we don't typically know our own body's pleasure map, right? We go for what we know works. We masturbate in a similar way, or porn shows a certain way. We tend to have sex in a certain way. This is giving yourself and your partner full permission and excitement and curiosity to try different touches, try different things, literally do like a 10-minute makeout session. It's so hot. It can be so hot. I think that's what we need another t-shirt. We said like bring back the makeout session or something, So that's the second tip. And then the third tip is to try new things in it. So we talked about this. Don't go for what you always know works. And then how are you going to know what works? You're going to ask your partner. Back to communication, right?
Yeah.
What do you show me how you like to be touched? Or asking for feedback, like, do you like this? Do you want it harder? Do you want it softer? Right? So really getting that like feedback from your partner. That's the third tip about trying new things in it. So, and then also think about how you like to be touched. How do you self-pleasure? And maybe showing your partner that, because I can promise you, your partner does not know how you self-pleasure, right? Yeah. They don't know what you already know feels good to your body. So sharing that can be and it's super sexy, right? You can show them, you can tell them, you can do both, right? You can even do like mutual masturbation where you're both showing each other. That can be super hot if that's, full consensual. So those are just some ways to sort of try new things and exploring. And then knowing, like which I love, you always say, Toby, it's like, you might like be like, try something, maybe you're kissing like the nape of their neck and they're like laughing because they're super ticklish and they're like, again, it's not sexy, but it made you guys laugh. Okay, great. That's not one of her erogenous zones. Yeah. Right. So that willingness to explore, to play, to laugh, to fail, right. To really like savor it. And that's the mindset. And then the fourth tip is, which I just kind of sort of teased up, is knowing the erogenous zones, right? So a body mapping can be a fun way to play with that. So asking for feedback, literally kissing, touching, sucking every part of your partner's body and them doing the same to you, and noticing, sharing of like, wow, that is really turns me on. I promise you, there are parts of your body that will totally turn you on that you don't know about right now in this moment, right? Yeah. So there's actually, like they say, there's 41 different erogenous zones, right? We know the obvious ones, but what about the non-obvious ones that you don't know about your own body? And they might not be the same as your partner. So this is like a super fun way to play and explore. Right. So obviously some of the erogenous zones, obviously we know the obvious ones, the genitals, the breasts, right, the neck, the lips, those tend to be the ears, those tend to be more obvious ones. But there's also like, the belly, right, the back of the neck, the crease of the buttocks, the inner thighs. I mean, there's 41 different erogenous zones, and not all of them will you find erotic, but a lot of them you will. So explore and play and figure out your own map.
Yeah, you're right. I'll chime in just a little bit. Some of the things that I have realized is, one, sometimes it is really nice. Public displays of affection are really good. Some people feel uncomfortable with that. So you got to talk about that and see if you do feel comfortable with it, good. If you don't, figure out something else. I always think that playing together, like, or working out together, like going out in the backyard and throwing a frisbee, or going and say, hey, let's just go work out for 20 minutes, because a 20-minute workout can also de-stress you from your day. You can do all this stuff. And I know when you get home and you're like, I gotta have sex, and now you tell me to work out, but it does work that way. It sucks that working out is hard and also makes you feel a lot better, but I just noticed that in my own life, that when I'm doing that and I'm intentional with it, or like my girlfriend and I work out together, I feel a real connection, like we're kind of doing something hard together that kind of bonds us a little bit. Totally. And then the big one for me is always just massages, like foot massage, absolutely. Back massage, neck massage. Like, you can get your lady naked and don't rush it. Don't immediately go to don't start massaging the vagina. Right, exactly. That's not where you start. Like, really care, because I think that oftentimes your partner will think, man, they're really invested in me. Like, they're giving me a massage. Like, normally you have to pay a lot of money for this. And they're actually, it won't be as good as the professionals, but if you can rub some shoulders for a while, spend that time. I mean, you can easily take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes of massaging and really start, touch your partner in a way that feels good to them. Isn't yet quite sexual, but it is flirty. Does feel good. It's sensual. It's really nice. I think all those things are some things you can do.
Absolutely. And it's a great way, massage is a great way to start to like explore those erogenous zones, right? Because you can be like, does that feel good? And what's so cool is when you start to explore your erogenous zones, there'll be a surprise where you're like, ooh, that totally starts to turn me on. And it's like, my armpit or something, because that is actually an erogenous zone, your partner might not be into that, but like, right, whatever it is, you start to, surprise yourself, surprise your partner, and sensual massage is a great way to do that. It's an awesome tip.
Yeah, totally. My girlfriend's like, you like doing it? I was like, yeah, I get to see you basically naked. Like there's a naked lady in my room, and I'm just getting to touch her, and she's enjoying it. So that's all I want. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hopefully it leads to more, but sometimes it doesn't. Maybe I don't, like you're saying, extended like the length of foreplay. Maybe foreplay several times in my life, and maybe for listeners out there, it doesn't have to be just today. Maybe you're foreplaying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday. Oh wow, you know what I mean? And that delayed gratification is worth it. You know what I mean? Like
totally
spend time in all kinds of foreplay outside of the bedroom, just flirting with each other, growing towards each other, and then when the deed happens, man, it feels so awesome to be that bonded with your partner.
Right, absolutely, right. And that leads me right to the fifth tip, which is that mindset shift, right? Not looking at it as something you do before sex, not looking at something you do brush through, not looking at something that's only for the woman, not looking at something that's like, oh, all right, how long is this going to go before we get to have sex, right? Really that mindset shift of being present, being curious, really knowing you're going to expand your pleasure and your partner's pleasure. You're going to have better orgasms, and being, really shifting the mindset on that is a huge way to start to use foreplay, all play as an amazing tool.
You're right. I love these. These are great.
That's the 5 tips. So I want to encourage you to start those the next time you are having foreplay.
Yeah. And Stormy is right. Take your time, take more time, and the benefits, you will just see them. You will just see them. This is just, and this is how to have great sex. You really do connect outside of the bedroom, outside of the penetrative sex. And when you can connect like that, it just really, really just does connect you.
And that's what you were just sharing, Toby, like when you and your girlfriend will work out, or you go out and throw a frisbee, like, right, those are different kinds of intimacy. Those are different realms of intimacy. That might be like recreational intimacy, right? You're adding in playfulness, right? So, when you broaden your definitions of intimacy, you have better sex, you have deeper connection, you have more love and passion in your relationship. And that's the freebie I wanted to offer to our listeners today is shoot me an email, stormy@lovedeeplab.com, and I can send you my free intimacy guide. It kind of is guided journaling, looking at the different realms of intimacy, and there's a video and a meditation on there as well as some podcast resources on there. So, shoot me that email. I'll be happy to send you the guide. It's part of our personal development series, which we sell on our website. But I'm going to give the intimacy guide for free, and it's really helping you to broaden your definition of intimacy, and foreplay is part of that. How do we broaden our definition of intimacy? One way is we increase and we become better lovers in our foreplay.
Yeah. All right. You ready for some Stump Stormy?
Sure. Let's go for it.
It's time to Stump Stormy.
I have some fun ones for this. I actually have 3. I don't know if we should do them. How about this one? Okay. I'll start with the most basic normal one. Okay, one of the most powerful nerves in the body is where, and because it's incredibly sensitive, touching it during foreplay indirectly stimulates the genitals. Where do you think one of the most powerful nerves in the body is?
Well, obviously I'm going in the genitals, is what I first was thinking. Yeah, I don't know the name of the nerve, but if we're talking about the penis, it'd be at the underside of the penis, where so not in the genitals.
Now, you mentioned it earlier. It's the top of the inner thigh. It's the iloinguinal. The iloinguinal.
Iloinguinal nerve.
Yeah, that's what it said. So it indirectly stimulates the genitals. Okay, how about this?
Oh, beautiful. Love it. So and again, that's back to those erogenous zones, right? They're like the thigh, inner thigh, and top of the thigh, and the crease of the buttocks are several of the erogenous zones.
Yep, totally. Okay, how about this one? When a male giraffe wants to mate, what does he do?
If I answered this correctly, that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like a zookeeper or
I
something.
don't think you're gonna get this. I'm gonna let you off the hook. He will
Okay.
he will duck his neck all the way down and pat the female on the rear. This will induce.
Oh,
This is where it gets wild. This will induce the female to urinate. When she urinates, the male will then drink a mouthful to determine if she's ready to mate.
oh my gosh,
Wow.
that's amazing.
So we're not recommending that on Sex 101 pod.
Maybe the love pat on the butt with consent, but that's maybe.
Yeah. You can pat her on the butt. I don't know about the.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is I see
Yeah.
things we're still learning. I hope
Yep.
I'm learning about sex till the day I die.
Yep, you're right. Okay, awesome. Well, let's get to some listener questions.
Have a question? We've got answers. Here's this week's listener questions.
So our first question comes from the rib tickler. I always see different kinds of condoms, but do condoms with ribs actually give more pleasure? I've always kind of wondered this myself too, because you'll go down the aisle or whatever, or when and you're like, did the ribs actually do anything? I can't ever. And when I've used condoms, it didn't seem like there's much of a difference, but I don't know. Maybe there is.
I mean, just personally, I never felt much of a difference, but every body is different. But yes, the idea with the ribs and the dots or the ribs is to bring more pleasure to both him and her, right? To the person wearing the condom and to the vagina, inside the vagina. And really the idea is to stimulate the nerve endings in the vagina. So it does work. I mean, they've been research proven to work. I would say that they might be too much for the anus if you're thinking about anal play. So just keep that in mind because the anus isn't self-lubricating. And then, so so the answer is yes, they are designed and they can add more pleasure to both you and to her. I think it can be too much even in the vagina. Like it's a sweet spot, right? Of having enough friction, but not too much friction. So using lube, especially if you're going to use ribbed condoms, is a great thing. So use a silicone-based lube as long as you're not using a silicone toy, or you can use water-based lube. And so using lube, you're going to get the benefits of those ribs or dots more than if you're not using lube. And then it's really finding that sweet spot of what's the right amount of friction with your partner.
Yeah. There you go, guys and girls. All right. And then this comes from As Clean as a Whistle. My girlfriend wants to try some butt play with me. I'm into it, but also want to be very clean for the first time that she goes down there on me. Is there a proper cleaning regimen I could follow?
It's a great question, right? And we have an episode that we did on anal play, so definitely check that out for a lot more tips. But the prep is key. One is for that you can settle into like feeling good and excited and not like as worried about poop. But I will also say poop is a part of anal play. Poop is, I mean, hopefully not a lot of poop. That's why we're going to talk about the prep. But poop is down there. That is the orifice it comes out of, right? So you got to just, know that that's at play, but your prep will help you to settle in and your partner to settle in. It also just keeps it safer and cleaner for everybody. So, the interesting thing is poop isn't stored in the anal canal. It's stored up higher. So yes, there will be residue and residual, or there can be, which is why some people choose to use an anal douche, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm not a big fan of that for myself or my clients. But if you've had a bowel movement before, like, maybe a couple hours before, right, you will be sufficiently cleaned out. Okay. So you don't have to use a douche. It's a very personal decision. I think also showering and cleaning the area, right? So making sure there's no stickies or anything like that, right? So using baby wipes or showering or whatever, so that you feel that the anus is clean and around the anus is clean. And then we've talked about like lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of lube, like a lot of lube, all right? So because again, just to like reiterate, the anal play should never be painful. Right? It might have high sensation, it might be a new feeling, might be a tight feeling, but it should never be painful. So just remember that. And if you do want to use an anal douche, you can buy them in the store, you can find it online. It is different than an enema. It's water or saline, and it's make sure you do it at least a few hours before, so that any water or saline will not still be in there.
Yeah.
So, but that's totally a personal decision. You do not have to enjoy anal play. You do not have to use an anal douche.
Yeah, I think you're right. And most people, like you said, you understand you are going in the anus. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
In the butt, Bob.
Yeah. Both of you should, you're making the decision to do that together. So no one should be shocked by that. Now, I can understand that, sometimes it might be you might be a little nervous here, there. You don't want to be embarrassed or anything like that. But like Stormy said, I think if you just prepare just a little bit, you should be fine.
Yeah.
And to get all that lots of lube, you can get it at marriagesupply.com, by the way, because you can get 10% off at marriagesupply.com with code SEX101. We got lots of lube, so try them out. And Stormy has a really great lube as well.
Yeah, right now we're looking. We just you can email me about it if you're curious about it. But we just actually went looking for a distributor for our lube. So and our lube has CBD in it, so it's pretty amazing.
You sent me some, and I'm telling you, it's good. It is a very good quality lube. So, and also feel free to email us with any sex ed topics you want to hear about and your listener questions. We sure would appreciate it. We love getting listener questions. You can email me, Toby at marriagesupply.com or Stormy at lovedeeplab.com. And Stormy, what else you got going on that the folks might be interested in?
Oh yeah, well we always have, I always am doing my coaching. So if I can be of support to you, I offer a complimentary discovery call. You can find that at lovedeeperlab.com. It's lovedeeperlab.com, our website. You can book a free discovery call to see if I can be of support to you or your partnership or both. And I love the coaching. And then we also are offering online programs that start at the beginning of each month. One about sexless marriages and how to reignite that, and one about being single and finding an amazing partner.
I love it. Also, you can follow Dr. Stormy on Instagram at DocStormy1, just the number 1. And TikTok is Touchy Subjects with 3 S's at the end. And then Marriage Supply, the.marriage.supply. And folks out there, remember, knowledge is power. Sex is power.
And the world needs more of both.